Hey everyone, Steven here, and today I'm reviewing a 15.6-inch portable touchscreen monitor from InnoView. Like all of my videos, I'll get into the specs first before covering what I like, potentially don't like, and the gray area before wrapping the video up. With that being said, let's get into the specs. This InnoView portable monitor is a 15.6-inch IPS panel monitor with a glossy finish to it, a 4K resolution, 10-point touchscreen, and a 60Hz refresh rate. This has a typical brightness of 350 nits, a peak brightness of 400 nits, and has a 1000:1 contrast ratio. With the peak brightness of 400 nits, we do have HDR to go along with that. This is most likely 8-bit plus FRC though, and not true 10-bit color. This covers 100% of the sRGB and Adobe RGB color gamut with a delta E of less than 2. For ports and buttons, starting on the right hand side, you have the power button with an LED indicator light, a USB Type-C on the go port, and an audio port. On the left hand side, you have a mini HDMI port and two full-featured USB Type-C ports, which one will be needed to power the device, but with this, keep in mind you need 30 watts of power. So using the power brick that this comes with is one of the best options here, but if you have anything that is larger, as long as it is over 30 watts, you're covered here. If it's under, as you increase the brightness, you're most likely going to run into issues as this isn't getting the amount of power it needs to fully run it. And with these, you're not really going to get power delivery to the devices that you connect this with. Outside of something smaller like a phone, you may be getting a little from what I've tested, but really don't count on this actually powering the device that you have connected to it. All of these inputs are built into the kickstand, which is very sturdy and offers plenty of adjustable range with this. Essentially, it goes from vertical and then it can rotate or tilt out 90 degrees, which allows the monitor to go from vertical to leaning back at about roughly 45 degrees. On the bottom of the monitor and kickstand are rubber pads to prevent this from sliding all over the place also, so you don't have to worry about that. This also has two 1-watt speakers, which let's go ahead and do a sound test for those really quick. Inside of the box, you get the portable monitor, two USB Type-C cables, a power adapter, a mini HDMI to regular HDMI cable, and the user manual. This comes with a 30-day return policy and an 18-month parts warranty. Shifting over now to the panel menu, you press the power button once in order to bring this up, and then you actually use the touch panel itself to navigate the menu. So let's look at the first tab here. Starting on the left-hand side and then moving right, we have volume, brightness, and contrast. With these, they are sliders that go from 0 to 100%. Next to that, you have the first round icon at the top. That is going to be the low blue light mode. Underneath that, we have Mac, which is going to optimize the touchscreen for Mac and the visuals towards that. Underneath that, we have the mute button. In the middle row at the very top, we have the inputs. So there's nothing in the center there, it's just blank, but at the very top you have the USB Type-C, nothing, and then underneath that is the HDMI input. On the far right hand side, we have FreeSync, Overdrive, and then Reset All. After that, when we shift to the next tab in the menu, you have all of your picture presets, and then we have our choice of two different color temperature modes, and then with the user mode, you actually have full control over the RGB colors. For the presets though, we have Standard, Movie, Game, Text, FPS, and RTS. Here we have that ability to control the different colors, but just looking at the colors, you have the 6500 and the 9300K. For the last menu here, the only thing that you really have the option to adjust is turning on or off HDR, which you're just turning on to auto mode, and then you can change the menu language. So now that I've covered the specs in the panel menu, let's get into what I like about this monitor, starting with the panel itself, because this is incredibly vibrant and the 4K at this size looks amazing. The HDR with consoles more specifically looks really good with this as well, so you're getting great visuals across the board. Now there is a limitation here because this is only 60 Hz, this isn't 120 or above in regards to the refresh rate. But if you're not getting this specifically for gaming, you're going to use it with your laptop, your PC, a handheld, your phone, and it's really just a multi-use device for you. The 60 Hz here should be plenty for you. And that versatility with these various devices is another big draw here because you can use it with a PC, a laptop, a phone, handheld, consoles. You do have some limitation when it comes to Mac OS or using this with an iPhone, but you shouldn't have the same problem when it comes to an Android-based device, although I don't have an Android-based phone, so I couldn't test that out for myself. The touchscreen here is going to be a big draw for a lot of people because when it comes to a lot of portable monitors, they're not all touchscreen. A lot of these are just a screen itself. So when it does work, when you're using this with a laptop, a handheld, your PC, the versatility with that is really nice because now using this secondary screen, if you're using it for a presentation or just the ease of use when it comes to swiping through YouTube or a website or whatever it may be, it's just a nice thing to have versus only being able to use a keyboard and mouse. Now everybody's reason for getting this is going to be slightly different because of the large versatility here, but the thing that is a draw for me is when I'm using my main PC, having that extra monitor where if I do want to stream, I can have chat down in the bottom and still use my main monitor for gaming and streaming through that. And it's just something where if I'm not going to stream, I can just put that over to the side. I don't need it on my desk all the time. I don't need a dual monitor setup. I just whip this out when I need it. The other big draw here, just mainly for PC, is that when I actually do these videos, I write these scripts, and being able to have that script on a second monitor instead of cramming it on my main monitor makes it easier to actually read and record these videos. The next big draw for me is going to be using this with a handheld because now I've taken that handheld, one, I have the larger screen, and most of these hardware wise, they're not going to hit 120 Hz, so I don't need that type of screen for it. But what I do get is now the ability to use the touchscreen to interface with that handheld. It just makes using the handheld easier, which is very nice. Next, the built-in kickstand here is really nice. It's durable, it's sturdy. Having the rubber on the bottom means this isn't going to slide all over the place. A lot of these you may get like a magnetic cover for it. This doesn't have a cover for it, but with those, although it does offer more protection because this doesn't have a cover, I find I don't really like them as much. They do okay, but this built-in kickstand is far more secure and stable than those. Next, the built-in speakers here actually sound really good, and not all of these portable monitors have speakers. This one having it, if you are pairing this again with a handheld or a console or something like that, where it's not something like a PC or a laptop where it already has speakers built into it typically, with this, you're not going to miss anything. And let's say you're somewhere where you don't need the speakers blaring, you have the audio jack for this also, so you could just connect your headphones. So you're kind of covered across the board, which is really nice. Last here, playing consoles on this, just specifically geared towards that. Visuals look great, HDR on that, like I mentioned earlier, it looks really, really good, and it plays well. Now you do have some limitations. We don't have variable refresh rate here. You're really locked in at that 60 Hz. But outside of that, with the visuals being top notch, and honestly, when I'm playing on a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox, I don't notice a massive difference between 60 and 120 on that. I just don't know how they're hitting the 120 Hz. Does that look a little bit smoother? Yes, but not compared to running a game on a PC and going from 60 to 120 Hz. So overall, Versatility here is going to be the big draw. So if you do have a console, I wouldn't get this specifically for a console, but if it's like, hey, I'm going to use this with my phone, my laptop, and then I will game on this occasionally, this is going to be a really good product for you. So now that I've covered everything that I like about this, let's talk about some of the things that I've seen that I don't like. I only have two. The first one here is that this should come with a higher capacity power brick to avoid the flickering that happens when you actually bump the brightness up towards 100. So here they're saying you need at least 30 watts. If you don't have that, you're going to notice flickering as you increase brightness with this, which is why it resets down to a lower level after you actually turn this off and then back on. Now with this, if they just gave you that higher capacity, the flickering's gone. So when I use one of the handheld chargers with this, which are typically 60 plus watts, no issues. I can bump contrast and brightness all the way up, no flickering, no problems with this. So if it came with a higher capacity power brick by default, you would avoid this problem. And last, this doesn't come with a case. Now, I'm not saying a sleeve. There is an option to buy a version that comes with a sleeve. They do sell a sleeve for their portable monitors. What I'm talking about is an actual case that like attaches to this, like a case you would buy for your phone. Because this being a little bit more expensive here, you want to protect your investment. If it falls or anything like that, this thing is most likely gonna get cracked. Depending on the height, obviously with that, you may just get scratched up and get lucky, but if it had a case on it, you're just gonna feel a little bit more secure with this. Now an upside here based off of the screen size is you can get a tempered glass screen protector for this. So you can protect that just because that is a standard size we see with laptops. You can find plenty of various screen protectors. I will have one in the description if you want to pick one up, and those aren't incredibly expensive. You're looking at about 10 to 15 bucks for one of those. The good news is that's going to be it for all of the negatives here. Moving on to the gray area, which are things you may or may not care about, starting with the fact that the kickstand, although it is very nice, it doesn't really allow for a vertical position. It's really awkward if you're trying to do that. Plus, with the ports being on the side, you can't really do that position. There's also no mounting holes for screws on the back of this. So if you're going to mount this, you're going to need one of those clamp-based mounts, which, based off your setup, that may not be something that you want to do. So you're kind of pinholed into a particular orientation and a particular type of mounting with this. Next, the touchscreen here means you're going to constantly have smudges on the screen with this, but that's going to be something that would happen with anything that's a touchscreen. When you look at your phone, that is the case. This being larger, you tend to notice it a lot more, so do make sure that you have something to wipe off those smudge marks with. And that is actually going to wrap it up for the gray area and conclude this video. So in conclusion, I think this is a really good portable monitor. I've never had one that had the touch screen. So for me, kind of moving into different territory with using this, how would I use it, thinking about those things. And for me, PC, laptop, handhelds is a big one. Using this with an Android phone, again, I can't test that where, hey, I could use the actual screen as the touch screen just because the iOS has that limitation there. I don't know how you remedy that potentially with iOS. Maybe they have to come up with an app that connects to it. I don't know, but that's kind of a bit of a bummer, but I know it's not InnoView's issue there. It really has to do more with iOS. But geared towards the touchscreen instances where I do use it, very, very nice. I don't know if you would use this with like any type of drawing apps. Like let's say you are an artist. I mean, you're probably going to use something else like a Wacom tablet or something like that. But let's say you're in a bind and you had this, you wanted to use it. I don't know if it's really gonna produce the results that you want with something like that specifically. But for people out there that, again, you're going through a presentation, a website, you have a handheld, it makes it easier to navigate that, whatever it may be, I think those are going to be big draws for a lot of people. And that's one reason why, personally, I really like this device. So that's going to be it for this one. I will have a link for this product as well as the screen protector and the protective sleeve in the description if you want to pick it up. If you have any questions about this, let me know in the comment section. I will make sure to answer that for you there. And if you like the video, hit the like button for me as it helps the channel out. If you want to continue to follow along with all my content, hit the subscribe button for me. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.